So welcome to this tutorial on finishing up Fill the Frame with some editing in Photoshop. Um, I'm going to ask that you try to do a little bit of editing and submit one image to this assignment. So at the end of the period you'll click into the assignment and then it's actually, I think when you click in you should have the ability to add a file. So we're going to try to add the file that you process in Photoshop. So in order to do that, you need to select one. So you have to have your SD card in. And we've been using image capture. We had a discussion yesterday about how to see these a little bit better. So like you can crank up the size to see them, but sometimes it's hard to see if something's in focus. Like you can't really tell if you have the focus and if that's the one you want to work on. So what you may want to do is open it up in Finder. And then you can find your card under Devices, and then you go into your, depending on which view you're in here, this shows you kind of like the file path. So on the card, and then there's a folder called DCIN, and within there's 3 different folders. It looks like this card was shot across 3 different days with probably 3 different cameras, the 3400 and then the 3100. And then you'll see your files. The JPEG files will load a little faster than the NEF files will move a little slower because it takes time and because they're bigger. The JPEG files will load a little faster. So if you want to see these big, hit the space bar and that will preview large. So this way you can kind of see which one. This one's a little bit out of focus. This one is in focus. Okay. So once you have the file that you want to work on, you're going to want to work on the NEF file. So we know that this is the same file, it's just the larger version. And I believe if you double click on it, it will open in Photoshop. Let me see what happens if I double click on mine here. Is Photoshop opening? Yes, it is. I think this is the older version of Photoshop because I'm on my laptop, but your version of Photoshop will open, and it will open in the raw view. So here Photoshop is open, but then there's actually a plugin window that pops up above, and this is Camera Raw. So the Camera Raw plugin, it allows you to have a lot of control over the image. So I'm just going to kind of run down stuff that I would do here. Now, if you wanted to change color temperature, that's like if you shot outside with the sun, or if you're inside with like tungsten lights, you would adjust it here. You probably don't want to go messing around with it too much for Fill the Frame unless you wanted to style it somehow. Same with the tint. I kind of rarely touch the tint. Sometimes I'll adjust the temperature. But what I do get into is these controls at the bottom here. So your exposure, if you're looking here at the top, you want to have kind of like a nice full waveform. So if I turn my exposure down, see how it like moves everything to the left, and if I push it to the right, it moves everything to the right in this section here. We want to have it kind of like balanced. So when this picture was taken, the exposure was actually pretty good. So like right around there, I would say. And then contrast will deepen, the difference between the darkest and the lightest areas of the screen. So here the darker areas come out and the lighter areas get lighter. And here they all kind of start to blend together. So adding contrast is like making something vary greatly from brightness to darkness. Highlights. I think what I would just have you do is exactly what I'm doing. Like just start sliding the sliders up and down. Shadows. Now I use shadows a lot when I'm taking real estate photography. So like I'll push all the darks pretty high up so that you can see what's in the shadows a little bit better. It makes everything a little bit brighter. I'm not quite sure if you want it for this one. You might want more contrast. Whites, I don't think we're going to be doing much with that. Sometimes I'll pull the whites down if it looks like it's overexposing. This is a tough one to be kind of giving an example in RAW. I'll probably do another RAW example when we have like a picture that has bright and dark areas and that sort of thing going on. So what I want you to do is just do some adjustments to see if you can get the most out of the image. Clarity might be something that you want to push. Clarity does kind of make it crisp. You have to be careful with clarity. Like sometimes use it a little bit more limited than you think, but sometimes it does make that like kind of crisp edges on things. Dehaze. This does do some interesting stuff with this particular image. I don't really use it on typical photography. Now, vibrance and saturation, those are also pretty cool on like, you know, a shot where, let's say you had a person in like a background. If you wanted the grass or the colors to pop a little bit, sometimes you could push the vibrance. Same with the saturation. If you push the saturation, it'll kind of make the colors deeper. Or if you desaturate it, it'll go to like a black and white image. So that might be something that you want to play with. So once you're kind of satisfied with the sliders here, I'm not going to go through the rest of these, but you may want to play, you know, just go through and you know, see if there's anything that you want to try in any of these tabs. There's also some stuff up here, like selectively doing certain areas with the adjustment brush is something I use a lot, and then transform tool. I'll show you adjustment brush. So this is showing you the brush, and if you use the bracket keys, it'll make the brush bigger or smaller. And I think it's also down here somewhere. Size, so you can kind of adjust your size there. Feather is the outer edges of the brush, so it kind of gets a little softer. But what you can do with the brush is like just do certain areas. So I'm going to bracket this down. The brush is a little big. It's not allowing me. That's a little bit better. And then you may want to just, I'll do something that you can see, obviously. So we'll pull the saturation down anywhere where I'm brushing. So let's say I just wanted to do like the outside edges. And this is a stylized thing that I'm doing here. Like, I don't know why you would want to do that, but now I'm making certain areas of the screen kind of black and white desaturated. Might be interesting. It's better when you have, again, a different image, and I can kind of show you some stuff with different images on a later tutorial. So let's say I'm done and I'm happy with all the stuff that I did. So I go back here. This is like overall adjustment brushes, only certain areas of the screen. So I'll show you where you brushed it. You can add versus erase to the brush, so that's another thing. I'll go over adjustment brush later. That this is a little too advanced for you know, what we need to do. So once you're happy, you're going to say open the image. So this brings it into like the actual Photoshop background. And then what you want to do from here is save it as. So right now it's a raw file, an NEF file, and I'm actually reading this right off of my card. So I went from Finder and I double-clicked right. So this is like the cards in the back of the machine. You're editing the NEF file right off of the card. You may want to copy and paste this to H drive in the Photo 1 folder and then edit from there. Either or for this one. I'm not going to be too stickler on where you have the file, but I would like you to kind of process it a little bit in Photoshop with the raw plugin. Okay, so once you have it and you're happy with the way it looks here, we're going to do two things. We're going to change the file size. So if I go to image size, this is showing you how many pixels wide by tall. So it's a very large image. Most televisions, if it's not a 4K television, are 1920 by 1080. So I usually set my photos to be that. 1920 on the width, and then I would just leave 1280 is fine. So we'll say OK. And it does make it a little bit smaller, but you can zoom. So if you hold the Command key and plus or minus, I mean, it's just showing you that you can zoom in and out. or Command 0 will fill the frame with it. Actually, I think that's actual pixels. So if I go to View and then Fit on Screen, Command 0. Okay, that did fit on screen. And so Command minus, Command plus, 100%, Command 1. That's what it would look like on the screen if it was like full scale. And I just hit Command minus. All right, so I'm happy with that. I like the way it looks. I've resized it to a little bit smaller so that it's not a huge file. And now I'm going to save it as a JPEG. So I'm going to say File, Save As. And I want you to save this to your H drive. I'm not connected to a server right now, so I'm just going to put it in my pictures. But what we'll do is change it from the Photoshop format to the JPEG format. And then you can name it. So circles. And then save it. And we'll go through this and say OK. So now this is a file called circles.jpg on my Mac hard drive, and pictures, circles, and a spacebar preview. That's what I've done. And then this is what I would submit to the classroom. So I don't have the ability to do that, but you would go back to the classroom, you'd go into the assignment, and then there's like an add button and add the file. So I think we've all done that in class before. So that's going to do it for this tutorial. I hope you guys do well with this one and have some fun editing all the files that you've shot over the past couple days in class. Thanks. I'll see you soon.